Have you ever felt like just one word could make you lose control? But what if there was a way for you to become untouchable to insults, criticism, and negativity? Would you want to know what it is? What would happen if you stopped reacting to the world and started mastering your emotions like someone truly in control? If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your feelings, then the next part is something you absolutely cannot miss. Have you ever felt like someone could completely control your emotions with just one careless word? Maybe it was a condescending look, a sarcastic comment, or a disrespectful gesture, but it was enough to set you on fire. As if someone pressed a rage button inside you and everything suddenly exploded. Why does that happen? Why can some people push your buttons so easily while others doing the same things barely move you? Why do certain words that seem harmless to one person make your heart race, your hands tremble, your face flush red, while others just shrug and move on? The answer lies in this. Anger is not something others give you. It does not come from the outside. It is something you allow to exist within yourself. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But stay with me until the end of this video, and you'll discover a truth that can completely change the way you live and feel. I'm not talking about suppressing your anger or pretending not to care. I'm talking about a deep transformation in your thinking so that you can walk through life with an unshakable peace. A state where you're no longer triggered, no longer agitated, and no longer manipulated by anyone. Just imagine that. A life where you don't need to react to attacks. A mind so steady that no one can throw you off balance. An inner world so calm that no words can touch the core of who you are. That is the power you can absolutely achieve. Most people believe that anger is a natural reaction to what others do. They think it's a direct result of external circumstances. But in reality, anger is like a mirror. It doesn't reflect what's happening out there, it reflects what's happening inside of you. What makes one person laugh might make another explode. The same words, the same actions, but two completely different reactions. Why? Because anger is not about the outside world, it is a product of the inner world. It is shaped by what you believe, what you fear, and how you interpret what's happening around you. Think of your mind like a lens. Everything others do passes through that lens, which is colored by your thoughts, your memories, and your unhealed wounds. Imagine someone insults you in a language you don't understand. They say something offensive, but you don't react. Why? Because the words mean nothing to you. But the moment you understand the language and grasp the meaning, emotions start to rise. The words haven't changed, only your interpretation has. This proves that anger doesn't come from others, but from how your mind processes the event. And this is exactly where most people lose control. They believe their emotions are direct reactions to how others treat them. If someone is disrespectful, they think they must get angry. If someone criticizes them, they think they must respond. But this way of thinking hands over all your emotional power to someone else. It turns you into a puppet with anyone at any time, able to pull the strings and make you explode. Do you really want to live like that? To be someone who can be controlled so easily? Someone whose peace can be stolen by a few careless words from someone who doesn't even know you? I don't think so. You are much stronger than that. And that strength begins with a simple yet profound realization. Anger does not come from them. It comes from you. If someone says something that causes you to lose your temper, it means there is something within you that has not yet been healed. It might be insecurity. It might be an old wound still open. Or perhaps a deep need for validation and respect. Their words are simply a mirror, revealing what you've been hiding inside. That is the good news. Because if the anger does not originate from the outside, then the solution doesn't lie in changing others. You don't need to wait for them to be kinder, or demand that they be more fair or considerate. You only need to turn inward to heal and to take ownership of yourself. Think of the truly powerful people in history, the great leaders, the wise ones, the people we describe as untouchable. Do you see them getting angry over petty insults? Do they waste energy arguing with those who thrive on conflict? No. They understand something vital. The strongest person in the room is not the one who yells the loudest, but the one who can sit still in calm and steady silence. And that is the first lesson you need to hold on to. Next time you feel anger rising, when your emotions start boiling over, pause. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I about to give away my power? Because every time you lose your temper, every time you get angry, you are handing over the control to someone else. You are saying, "Here, take my energy, take my peace, and take charge of how I feel." And do you know what that really means? It means you are living as someone who is not in control of themselves. And you no longer have the luxury to live like that. This world is too chaotic, too loud, filled with too many people ready to pull you into their emotional storms. If you don't build an inner foundation, you will be swept away. So stop nurturing that weakness. Don't let a petty remark have the power to ruin your entire day. Instead, learn to recognize emotions when they rise. Choose to pause instead of react. Learn to observe your emotions, acknowledge them, and then let them go. And from that very moment, you are taking your first steps on the path to emotional mastery. You are learning how to become untouchable, not because you have shut down your heart, but because you've healed enough not to be shaken by things that don't deserve your energy. Right now, you might be wondering, how do I maintain that state when everyday life is filled with friction, disrespectful people, and unwanted situations? When you realize that external approval is no longer necessary, you begin to tap into a deeper layer of your inner strength. And from that point on, you're no longer easily affected by little things. Instead of reacting to every word or negative gesture, you begin to choose something else. Indifference. Not the kind of indifference that ignores or pretends not to care, but a deeper, more intentional kind. A state where you are fully aware of what's happening, but you don't let it enter your inner space. Because you understand that unless you allow it, no one can control your emotions. And once you truly live with that mindset, you begin to step into the realm of emotional invincibility. The beautiful part is, this is just the beginning. In the next part of this journey, you will be guided through 3 core truths. Why others can trigger your reactions, how to take control of your thinking to stay calm, and finally, the ultimate key to mastering your emotions at the deepest level. If you're ready to go all the way, you'll gain the power to keep your soul calm and centered, even when life throws its fiercest storms your way. But first, let's take a deeper look at a simple question. If emotions come from within, why do certain people have the power to make you angrier than others? Why is it that someone can say something gently and yet it infuriates you, while similar words from another person hardly move you at all? The answer isn't in the other person. It lies within you. They didn't create your anger. They merely touched a wound that hasn't healed. The words that hurt you the most usually don't do so because they're false, but because they strike a chord with something you secretly believe might be true. They accidentally or perhaps intentionally press on the softest spot inside you. For example, if someone calls you a failure and deep down you're afraid that it might be true, their words will cut like a knife. They will hit the most fragile part of your heart. But if you genuinely believe in your own worth, then those words are nothing more than wind passing by your ears. You won't feel the need to react, defend yourself, or prove anything, because you know who you are. That is the core principle of anger. The more you trust yourself, the harder it is for others to shake you. The less self-belief you have, the easier it is for others to control your emotions. Most people spend their entire lives playing the blame game. They say, "They made me angry, they hurt me, they disrespected me." But if you look closely, you'll realize that your emotions never truly come from the actions of others. They come from the way you interpret those actions in your mind. The moment you feel offended, pause and ask yourself, do I really believe what they said? Or is it just an old wound inside me speaking up? And from that moment you begin asking such questions, you're no longer a victim of your emotions. You become the observer. And the observer always has a choice. You can continue reacting, continue allowing others to control how you feel, or you can treat every emotional trigger as a chance to strengthen your inner power, as a test to show you what still needs healing inside. Because once you dismantle your inner insecurities, insults lose their power. When your soul is healed, no one can hurt you. Imagine that feeling, walking through life unshakable. No matter what anyone says or does, you maintain your inner stillness. Not because you're trying to look strong, but because nothing can break you anymore. That strength, that freedom is already within you. It has always been there, just waiting for you to recognize it and claim it. What's dangerous is that most people live in an illusion. They believe emotions are automatic responses to circumstances. If someone is rude to me, I must get angry. If someone insults me, I must respond. But that is a false belief. No one can make you feel anything unless you choose to feel it. Imagine this. Someone hands you a heavy stone and tells you to carry it. You have two options. 1, take it and strain under its weight. 2, smile and gently set it down. That is exactly how negative words operate. You have the power to choose not to carry them. You only suffer when you decide to hold on to them. The world wants you to believe that emotions reflect your circumstances, but in truth, emotions mirror your inner state. Two people can go through the exact same situation and have completely different reactions. One gets angry, one smiles, one feels insulted, one doesn't care. This shows that the event itself matters less than how we interpret it. You can't control everything that happens, but you can always choose how to respond. The moment you understand this, you take back control. You're no longer a puppet of the world. You're no longer swept away by rude comments, meaningless insults, or situations that make you lose control easily. You're no longer living just to react. You're living to choose. True strength doesn't lie in making others obey you. It lies in your ability to stay at peace, even when others disagree with you. The greatest form of control isn't mastering others, it's mastering yourself. And when you no longer hand over the control of your emotions to anyone else, that is when you become truly free. And the beautiful thing is, no one can take that freedom from you unless you give it away yourself. So what happens next? How do you start practicing this in everyday life? How do you train your mind not to react impulsively but to remain steady? The answer is very close. In the next part, we'll explore how to restructure your thinking, how to turn emotional challenges into opportunities, and how to train deliberately so you can stay calm in any situation. We've already said that every time you react in anger, you're handing away your power. But what really happens when you let anger control you? In that moment, anger might make you feel powerful, as if you're the one in charge, as if you're controlling the situation with a louder voice, a sharper look, or a stronger comeback. But in reality, the opposite is true. Anger is not power. It is the fastest path to losing control. Think back to the last time you were angry. Did you feel in control? Or did you act without thinking, say things you regretted, maybe even do something you didn't realize until it was too late? Many people believe that shouting, slamming the table, or snapping back with fury makes them intimidating, makes others fear them. But in truth, anger is the clearest sign that you are no longer in control of yourself. The moment you get triggered and react, you're being led by your emotions. You are no longer thinking clearly. You're acting as if someone has their hand on a remote control, pulling you into a spiral you can't stop. In that moment, you are not in charge. Your emotions are. And the person who triggered your anger has already won, not because they were right, but because they managed to steal your peace. Look at the great figures in history, the most respected leaders. Did you ever see them scream when insulted? Did they lose their composure over a petty comment? No. They were the ones who remained calm, composed, and self-possessed, even when chaos surrounded them. Real strength is not in the immediate reaction, but in the ability to choose your response with clarity. The weak react. The strong respond. That's the difference. And this is what many people don't yet understand. Anger drains you while silence recharges you. Every time you allow yourself to be pulled into a conflict just because someone provoked you, you're giving away your precious energy. You're feeding the very thing that disturbs you. On the other hand, when you remain calm, you don't fuel the negativity. You take away its environment to exist. And that is why those who master their emotions are always the ones who win in the long run. They don't need to clap back with words. They don't need to join every fight. They choose peace over pride. So next time you feel anger rising within you, take a pause. Ask yourself, am I about to give away my power? Because truly the one who stays calm is the one who holds the reins. True strength is not about how loud you can shout or how quickly you can snap back. Real strength is when you can keep your mind calm, even when everyone around you is expecting you to lose control. Imagine two people in an argument. One is red-faced, shouting uncontrollably. The other stands still, eyes steady, demeanor calm, unaffected by the attack, in the eyes of an outsider who truly holds the power. Clearly, it's the one who remains silent. Because the moment you let someone stir up negative emotions within you, you've handed them control. You become predictable, easily manipulated, and gradually lose your inner stability. But when you train yourself to master your emotions, you become untouchable. Insults no longer hurt you. Stressful situations no longer shake you. And those who try to pull you into their emotional storm will realize they are facing someone who cannot be easily swayed. However, this is not something you're born with. No one comes into this world with perfect emotional control. It's a skill, like building muscle. You have to train it bit by bit. Every time you choose silence over outburst, patience over frustration, you are strengthening your mind. And you'll notice that negative energy from the outside world affects you less and less. This is also why the most powerful people never react impulsively. They understand that the one who controls their emotions can control any situation. So how do you train this skill? The secret begins with a simple yet incredibly powerful act: pause. Right in the moment when you're about to react, take a beat, breathe deeply. Just those few seconds are enough to help you regain control. In that brief pause, you step out of a reactive state and into a state of mastery. Instead of being a puppet to your emotions, you become the one holding the strings. You stop to observe. You don't react out of instinct. You choose how you want to respond. And over time, something remarkable happens. The things that once made you furious no longer affect you the same way. The people who once triggered your anger slowly lose their power over you. You become steady, peaceful, and grounded in a world full of emotional chaos. That is the power of mastering your inner world. And once you hold that power, no one can take it away from you. No insult can penetrate the peace you've built. No wave of anger can sweep you away if you've learned to stay balanced in your soul. There is a very small space between something happening and your mind choosing how to respond. But in that tiny space lies the difference between weakness and strength, between chaos and control. Most people react instantly. They let emotions lead the way, but strong people don't. They respond, slowly, calmly, and intentionally. A reaction is impulsive, uncontrolled, instinct-driven. It leads to words you'll regret, actions you'll wish you hadn't taken, and rushed decisions that ruin everything. But a response is a form of quiet power. It is clarity. It is freedom. It is proof that you are no longer a slave to your emotions. Pause before reacting, instead of letting anger carry you away. And now, let's go deeper into what really happens when you choose to respond rather than react right away. Responding is an intentional act. It is the pause between emotion and action, a moment where you choose to take a deep breath instead of shouting, to observe instead of exploding. It is the moment you make a decision from clarity, not from impulse. And that is exactly what makes you powerful. Because when you respond, it means you are in control. Not your emotions, not the circumstances, not others, but you. Imagine this: someone insults you, and instantly your blood starts to boil, your pride surges, your logic fades. If you react immediately, you're showing them they pressed the right button. They pulled the string, and you danced. But if you stop, take a deep breath, and respond with calmness, what happens? You reclaim your power. You throw them off. You don't behave as they expected. You prove that you are standing on higher ground. And in that moment, you are the one truly in control. This is also why people of true influence, great leaders, never respond impulsively. They know emotions can be exploited. They understand that unchecked anger turns them into easy prey. In a world full of strategy and competition, those who lack self-restraint are often the first to fall. So next time someone tries to provoke you, tries to press your weak spots, remember one simple thing: the pause is your weapon. That brief moment, though short, holds immense power. It's the space where you get to choose: will you let them control you, or will you stand your ground? Master that moment and you master your emotions. And when you master your emotions, you begin to master your entire life. Most of the anger we feel in life stems from a very common mistake. We personalize everything. When someone criticizes, insults, or mistreats us, our mind immediately asks, why are they doing this to me? But that question is based on a false assumption that their behavior actually says something about us. The truth is, it says nothing about you. It says everything about them. Hurt people hurt people. Those who lack confidence often try to bring others down just to feel taller. Those filled with anger tend to spit out venom. What they say, what they do, is merely a mirror reflecting their inner world, not your worth. If someone is full of bitterness, they will spread bitterness. If they carry pain, they will radiate pain. But all of that only becomes your burden if you choose to carry it. And this is the turning point. When you stop personalizing things, you free yourself from unnecessary weight. You realize that most of people's behavior has nothing to do with you. They're simply playing out their own inner battles. And you are just a witness. You don't have to step onto the stage and join their drama. Someone insulting you does not reveal who you are. It reveals who they are. Once you truly understand this, you stop reacting. You no longer hand over your inner peace to those still lost in search of themselves. Instead of getting angry, you can feel compassion. Instead of arguing, you can observe. Instead of letting negativity flood your mind, you can rise above it. And when you do that, you step into an entirely new level of power. A power that does not come from controlling others, but from not letting others control you. The strongest people in life are not those who engage in every battle. They are the ones wise enough to know which battles are truly worth it. They understand that not every word deserves a response, and not every attitude requires an explanation. Because true strength is not about striking back at the darkness, but about refusing to let someone else's darkness steal the light within you. And remember this, not everyone triggers your reaction unintentionally. Some people do it on purpose. They know exactly what will anger you. They know which words or behaviors will make you lose control. They press that emotional button because they want a reaction. They test your limits, not to understand you, but to watch you break. And every time you react, you're unknowingly rewarding them. Think about it. If someone knows exactly what to say or do to make you angry, then in essence, they hold control over you. They can shatter your mood in seconds. They can turn you from composed to irrational with one calculated move. That is not power. That is weakness that you can no longer afford to feed. So what happens when you stop reacting? When they insult you but you remain calm? When they provoke you but you don't respond? When all their efforts are met with nothing but your indifferent silence? They lose. They lose all control. Because you cannot manipulate someone who no longer reacts. You cannot control someone who has mastered inner stillness. A person who is not shaken cannot be controlled. The secret to escaping emotional traps is simple. Don't fall into them. When someone tries to drag you into their emotional storm, stay in your calm sky. When they hope you'll explode, give them nothing. When they wait for your collapse, stay standing tall. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It simply means you choose where to place your energy. You do not waste your peace on unworthy battles. You do not drain your power on people who feed off negativity. Because your peace, your balance, is your most precious asset. And from the moment you decide to guard it, no one can take it from you again. And when you learn to rise above petty things, to stay grounded in a chaotic world, you'll begin to experience a new kind of strength, a quiet power that cannot be shaken. So how do you maintain that state when life still holds countless challenges ahead? We've already talked about pausing before reacting and asking a simple question, am I giving away my power? That's the first step in reclaiming inner peace. And now, having understood the value of staying calm, let's go deeper into where real power truly lies. The bravest decision you can make is sometimes not to resist or retaliate, but to walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough not to need to prove it. When you refuse to engage in someone else's emotional battle, you win from the very first moment. Because nothing makes those who love control feel more defeated than your silence, your lack of reaction, and your decision to leave. They want you to react. They wait for you to get angry. They hope you'll scream so they can feel powerful. But when you don't, they lose their power. Most people believe strength lies in strong words, in shouting, in proving you're right. But the truth is, real strength is not loud. It doesn't need to show off. True power lies in potent silence, a calm presence that draws the entire room's attention. That's why the truly grounded never need to raise their voices. They don't argue. They don't try to dominate. Their stillness alone shifts the energy of everything around them. Just picture it. Someone insults you in front of a crowd. They expect you to respond. They wait for a comeback, but you say nothing. You look at them calmly and choose not to engage. What happens then? Their words lose weight, their plan to provoke you falls apart. And what truly destroys them is your lack of reaction. Silence is not weakness. It is the highest form of emotional control. It's the most powerful message you can send without speaking a word. I cannot be shaken, and you're not worth my energy. That is why the wisest and most powerful people in history were rarely the ones who spoke the most. They only spoke when necessary. And when they did, the whole world listened. Because they had held back so much calm that when they finally spoke, their words weighed more than any shout ever could. Your emotions are like fuel. The more you pour into the fire of anger, the bigger it burns. But if you withhold that energy, the fire dies. The next time someone tries to provoke you, resist the familiar reflex. Don't react so quickly. Stand still. Stay silent. Then you'll witness where true power really lies. It lies in your ability not to give them what they are seeking. Because once you stop letting words control you, you truly hold the power. Every provocation, every insult, every tense situation is just a test. A test to see whether you've really mastered yourself. Mastered your patience, mastered your reactions, mastered your inner world. Most people fail this test. They get pulled in, they react, they argue. They lose their peace over things that are absolutely not worth it. But those who understand the rules of the game see things differently. To them, every provocation is an opportunity. An opportunity to prove that they've grown, become stronger, and gain greater control. So next time someone tries to get under your skin, don't see it as an offense. See it as an invitation. Invitation to train your inner strength. A challenge to test yourself. Have I really risen above my emotions? Or am I still being driven by my ego and unhealed wounds? Because in the end, the issue doesn't lie with the other person. It lies with you, with your maturity, with your discipline. With your ability to remain calm in situations where most people would lose control. An insult is no longer a weapon if it doesn't reach you. Rudeness can't hurt you if you view it as a lesson. The person who used to upset you is no longer the one who ruins your peace, but rather a teacher helping you train your stillness in the middle of chaos. Because they are helping you refine the most valuable thing you have, your inner peace. Truly strong people are not afraid of challenges. They don't avoid negative situations. On the contrary, they see them as opportunities to become more resilient. They don't see negativity as a problem, they see it as a training tool. Every confrontation becomes a mental workout. And if you're wise enough, you'll realize that the more challenges you face, the greater your opportunity to become stronger. So when someone tries to drag you into their emotional storm, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and tell yourself, this is my test, and I will not allow myself to fail. Now think about this. Most conflicts don't actually come from something serious. They stem from a very human need. The need to be right. The need to prove your point. The need for others to acknowledge your perspective. But the truth is, winning an argument rarely changes anything. You might prove that you're right, but is it really worth it? The costs can be high. Your time, your energy, and most importantly, your peace. Are you truly willing to trade all of that just to be seen as right? The need to be right is a trap. It pulls you into endless battles. It keeps you emotionally entangled with people and situations you should have let go of a long time ago. Look at the people who hold real power, those who have great influence. Do they waste time arguing over petty things? Do they try to explain themselves to people who are unwilling to understand? The answer is no. They remain silent. They move forward. And they let their results speak for themselves. Once you let go of the need to be right, you also let go of countless unnecessary conflicts. You no longer feel the urge to defend your opinions. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to win every debate. Instead, you choose peace. You choose progress. You choose wisdom. Because true wisdom isn't about always being right. It's about knowing when to stay silent, when to walk away, and when something simply isn't worth your energy. We've started exploring a powerful truth, that those who master their emotions are no longer shaken by the outside world. And one of the most important steps on that journey is the ability to emotionally detach. But detachment doesn't mean being numb. It also doesn't mean you're cold or indifferent to everything around you. On the contrary, it's a very intelligent way to protect your peace. It's when you actively choose where your energy goes. It's when you clearly know what is worth your attention and what is not. You no longer let your emotions get entangled in negativity that serves no purpose to your inner calm. Most people are slaves to their own emotions. When someone behaves rudely, they feel offended. When someone expresses a different opinion, they feel attacked. When something doesn't go their way, they let anger take over their minds. They react instinctively, constantly, and without control. Their lives are like small boats drifting in the middle of a storm, with each gust of wind being someone's words or actions. But emotional detachment is a higher level of living. It doesn't require you to turn a blind eye or ignore everything. It simply gives you the ability to observe without absorbing. It's when you can listen without turning everything into something personal. It's when you can see negativity, but you don't let it take root and grow inside you. And more importantly, detachment is not indifference, it is control. It is when you consciously choose which emotions to keep and which ones are not worth holding on to. It is when you look straight at a situation and ask yourself, is this really worth sacrificing my peace? When you start thinking that way, you will reach a very valuable state. Untouchability. Others may try to provoke you, but they won't succeed. Unexpected situations may arise, but you won't lose your composure. The world may be chaotic, but inside you remains calm, steady, and still like a quiet lake. However, remember that this doesn't happen overnight. It's not like hearing an inspiring quote and waking up the next morning as a completely new person. No, this is the result of daily practice. Of every small choice you make, each time you're provoked, each time you want to react, each time you feel hurt. But here's the good news. Every time you choose stillness, you grow stronger. Every time you refuse to react on impulse, you're training your mind to become more resilient. Bit by bit, you're building an inner self that no one can shake. The strongest person in a room is not the loudest. It's not the one who wins every argument. It's the one who can stay calm, stay grounded, and stay steady under pressure. So what makes us so vulnerable? One of the deepest roots lies in how much we care about what others think. We want to be recognized. We crave agreement. We long to be accepted. And when we don't receive those things, we feel rejected, judged, and diminished. That's where emotional pain is born. In truth, it's a subtle trap, because when your sense of worth depends on the approval of others, you will always remain vulnerable. And the truth is, other people's opinions are not facts. They are not universal truths. They are just reflections of what's happening inside their own minds. They're speaking more about themselves than they are about you. Think about it. Today, someone might praise you enthusiastically, but tomorrow, that same person might turn around and harshly criticize you. Today, the crowd might cheer for you, but with just one mistake, they might turn you into the target of their ridicule. If you let your peace depend on them, you will forever be swept away in a never-ending wave. So when you stop caring about opinions that hold no real value, you will experience a whole new kind of freedom. Freedom from the need to be liked. Freedom from the pressure to please everyone. Freedom from the fear of being judged or misunderstood. And no, that doesn't mean you become careless or arrogant. It simply means you choose to focus on the voice within you instead of the noise around you. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to people who have no intention of understanding you. You no longer adjust your way of living just to satisfy those who are constantly looking for something to criticize. Because in the end, there is only one opinion that truly matters: how you see yourself. And when you master that mindset, no one can make you feel small ever again. No disapproving glance can cause you to hesitate. No insult can touch the core of your inner worth. In a world full of noise where everyone has an opinion, everyone wants to argue, and everyone rushes to judge, maintaining inner calm becomes a kind of superpower. If you allow yourself to be swept up in it, you'll become distracted, drained, and gradually lose control of your own emotions. But the good news is you don't have to join the chaos. You don't have to argue. You don't have to react to every word. You don't have to prove anything. The outside world does not have to dictate your inner world. You always have a choice. Most people act as if they don't. They let their moods be controlled by events, by people, and by circumstances they cannot control. If someone is rude, they get angry. If someone disagrees, they feel offended. If things don't go their way, they feel frustrated. They live as victims of circumstance. But strong people are different. They guard their peace as if it were their most valuable asset. They don't let a minor situation ruin their entire day. They don't let someone's opinion disrupt their clarity. They don't give anyone the power to control their emotions, because they understand something very simple yet deeply profound. True peace doesn't come from controlling others or the outside world. It comes from mastering the inner world. So ask yourself this: who is really in control of your emotions? The world out there or you? And once you truly decide that your inner peace is worth more than any fleeting emotion, you'll step into an entirely new territory, a place where no one can touch you. A state where your emotions are no longer manipulated by anyone. So what comes next? How do you hold on to that peace when facing criticism, difficult situations, and deeply negative people?